My name is Caraccio, and I'm a chemical engineer at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. This fall, I will be starting as a PhD student in the Department of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering, working with Dr. Bethana Botla and Dr. Kuhn.
This is where I am currently living for 120 days. I am a crew member on the Hawaii Space Exploration Analog Simulation. We started as a 6-person crew, now down to 5, simulating a Mars analog mission in isolation on the slopes of Mauna Loa. The crew is supporting a psychology investigation that is a joint effort between the University of Hawaii, NASA, and many other psychologists located all over the country. They are gathering data from us to understand crew performance, behavior, and dynamics amongst ourselves and mission control to benefit a long-duration extreme environment space mission. We arrived via pickup truck and van, so we did not simulate the travel to Mars.
So I first got involved with the High Seas mission by seeing an advertisement in NASA's daily news report, and I decided it would be a really good opportunity to go out and test some of our technology that we're studying through the Trash to Gas project and get a good analog mission and some data from the mission. So the Trash to Gas project is a project where we're trying to develop a technology to convert mission waste from a long-duration space mission into useful commodities such as water and life support oxygen, as well as fuels and rocket propellants. So when astronauts are currently on station, they take the trash and they compress it into footballs and they put it in cargo transfer bags, and it's then burned up in Earth's atmosphere. And we can't do that on long-duration missions. So a lot of the information here we're getting is on human factors data and assessing how much crew waste is assessed, how much time is spent processing the trash, so we can see if we can actually continue to implement this information into a design into our reactor for a future mission. So we currently don't have a reactor here, but that's the plans for the future, is to develop an analog reactor and then get one sent off to space so that we can get some useful products out of our trash from space missions.
The habitat and systems were all set up upon our arrival. We get our power from solar panels, and for those of you that live in Florida, this is pretty standard for power supply. The power is converted from the photovoltaic cells and then stored on 2 industrial-sized lithium-ion batteries that store about 10 kilowatts each. Our water supply is pumped inside the habitat from these 2 external tanks, and then our used water is sent back out of the habitat into these white tanks. We can only go outside in simulated spacesuits. One is a white MX suit and the other is a yellow hazmat suit style, designed both by the Space Systems Lab at the University of Maryland. Each of these systems has their way of supplying breathing air to us during an exploratory or science mission. The white MX suit has its own liquid cooling garment and weighs about 50 pounds once you're all suited up. Most of us are all here performing science, geology exploration, and providing analog data for the mission. Living on the slopes of a volcano is very quiet, and the view of the night sky is spectacular. There is a wonderful view of Mauna Kea. Even though we only have one window, we can't really see this, and we are surrounded by A'a lava and the smoother sloped Pahoehoe lava. Before arriving here, the crew received geology lessons from experts in the field. We simulate a 5-minute compression and decompression before and after leaving our habitat in order to simulate a pressurization for acclimating to the habitat atmosphere and the Mars atmosphere. This is our shipping container that serves as a workshop, and it's where our batteries are that store our electrical energy. It's a pretty standard power conversion unit, and the wood box in the corner is also where our water pumps the water from the external tanks into the habitat. These are some International Space Station lights that I brought with me from Kennedy Space Center. I will install these lights in the general crew dining area before I leave. They are the same lights used on ISS, and they are LED color-changing lights that will help with crew alertness and melatonin levels. Remember, we don't see the sun too much, so lights can be very important to a crew.
Of course, most people would not want to isolate themselves in a dome inside a habitat on the slopes of a volcano for let alone 4 months, or the future missions that are 8 months and 12 months. But if you are passionate enough about the space program and you really want to develop the technology to send humans to space and really work on analog systems so that you can save money by testing on the ground, and if your heart is there and your passion is there, then of course a mission like this would be for you, because you'd be so motivated to provide data to the scientists and the researchers that are trying to get good ground information that'll save money, so that we can send people and humans and science up into space. I grew up near New York City, and I just wasn't completely surrounded by space all the time, and the thought of space exploration and stargazing. If you've ever been to the city, you really can't see the night sky as clear at night as you can in some parts of the world. So for me, it was just not a focal aspect of my everyday life as a child. But started to understand and know what NASA did and how many great spin-offs occur for humans here on Earth, as well as the Earth itself. I just really fell in love with the thought of developing technology that was benefiting space travel as well as for Earth and humankind itself. So it really was a win-win to me, and just exploring that unknown and being able to be part of a program that reaches new places that we have yet to go and yet to discover while benefiting Earth is just such an awesome feeling and such an awesome team and group to be a part of. So I am very enthusiastic about it and love what I do.
This is the first floor of the habitat. It provides medical storage, workout space, social area, geology tool, and other science equipment storage. It feels big because of the high ceilings that we have in our dome-shaped structure. This is our meeting and dining area. We have one window, and you can see it lets in a lot of light. If we look out, you can see we have a view of our used water tanks and a lot of lava rock. It's pretty exciting stuff. Over here is our kitchen. We have a sink, small fridge, toaster oven, and we're pretty well stocked with utensils for cooking. Over here is where I'm making the crew separate out all of our trash and characterize the waste for the crew on a long duration mission. In here is where we store our dehydrated or freeze-dried food. Everything is freeze-dried or dehydrated in some fashion. We have to hydrate everything we eat, and it actually takes a lot of time to prep a meal for the crew. We have 2 bathrooms in the habitat, and the first floor has a shower. We are limited to 8 minutes of shower water per week, and our toilets are waterless composting toilets that have microbes that degrade our waste and also have a heater and aerator to help develop compost throughout the mission. Upstairs, we have our 6 crew quarters and a bathroom. To be honest, my room is just a bit smaller than my freshman-sized dorm in college. It has a bed, a desk, a shelf, and everything you need to pretty much live and sleep comfortably inside the habitat.
There haven't been too many big stressors involved in the mission so far. I'm actually hoping with the third of the mission that we have left that we start to get some real intense scenarios. We've had a couple nights where we lost power. There was a couple days where we didn't have internet, but it wasn't life-threatening or catastrophic. So it's really just been a pretty comfortable place to live and interact with the crew and perform our research and science in a pretty stable environment. We have all the food that we need to eat. We have exercise, and I really can't complain. For interacting with the outside world, like I said, we do have the internet here. I typically do a morning uplink and downlink of emails to family and friends and coworkers, and I also have a private blog amongst friends, family, and coworkers on Google+. It's a community that I set up, and just having a network back home that is very supportive of why you're here and what you're doing has made my morale just become incredibly high when I talk to them. It's a good booster, and it keeps my motivation high because I explained to them why I was passionate about why I was here, why I was doing what I was doing, and that really helped them understand why I left Earth for 120 days to come and do this mission. So it's really cool to get a nice email or a video or a picture of things that are happening back home, because it's just incredibly special when you're in isolation. So for the psychological testing that we are participating in during this study, it involves a lot of survey taking. We take surveys during the middle of the day, at the end of the day, right before we go to bed, and it involves a lot of survey questions. We also have a diary, in a sense, that we write, where it's going to compare how computers can interpret human response data to see how their moods are, how they're feeling. We also have to wear these armbands that record a lot of our physiological data so that they can see how we're performing as a crew. Overall, this mission is to see how a crew performs under stress, under isolated, confined, extreme environments, and we were all strangers when we first got here, so that might be one of the biggest challenges, is that we were a crew that we didn't really know much about each other. We didn't know how we would respond to situations, and that's something that would be very unrealistic of an actual Mars mission, because the crew would train a lot together for, if not years together, before actually going on a long duration mission. So that's something that we had to adapt to and just work with each other and understand each other. We also wear these badges around our necks that are sociometric badges, and they actually record the tone, how frequently we talk to one another, and that goes back full circle into all of the surveys that we take, and it gets a really good idea of how we are behaving with each other and interacting and performing.
One of my favorite parts of the mission is carrying out science or assisting crew with their science experiments. One crew member is studying the effects of wavelengths on plant growth for space missions. We have a chamber here that helps the plants grow, and we produce our own fresh food in the habitat. This is probably the biggest thing about food that I miss from back home, so it's great we have some fresh food during the mission. We participate in long-duration space clothing studies, and I brought a geotechnical tool from KSC that was modeled from the Apollo mission for characterizing soil properties. We have various geological tasks that are assigned to us from mission support, and of course my waste characterization study investigates the off-gassing of our waste, and I also compare VOC off-gassing with other areas inside and outside of the habitat. I also study how much volume we eliminate from trash footballs and how much power would be available for an actual reactor if we brought one inside the habitat. I was asked to share a funny story that's happened, and it wasn't funny in the moment, but it's pretty funny now, where my crew member Lucy and I had to suit up and remove all of the waste inside of our toilet and restart it because our microbes had died. So this was a very memorable experience that we will never forget.
So I am surprisingly very much okay with being isolated on the side of the slopes of a volcano with a crew that, started off as virtually strangers. I'm very okay with it. I keep myself very mentally stimulated through language training programs, doing my research, reading, trying to just do a lot of different things with research and with my mind. I exercise a lot. I eat as healthy as possible here to try and keep out any nutrition factors that would affect my mood. And I think for a real mission, as long as the crew has their heart and soul and passion in the mission and they get along very well, they're going to have a very successful mission, because half of it is your mind being engaged. So if your mind is engaged, you can do some wonders.
So that's it from me. I hope I've answered some of your questions about the Mars Analog mission. You can follow the mission at highseas.org. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the fall at USF. Go Bulls!